Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The fight is official. It's on, baby. Those were the words of Deontay Wilder in reference to a fight between himself and Tyson Fury. And he made that statement after Fury defeated Francesco Pianeta in a lopsided contest in Belfast. So I'll get to the actual fight itself in a bit, but first, let's get to this fight announcement. So Frank Warren, after the fight, he was being interviewed and he said, it is on. The details will be announced next week. And Wilder, he basically said, this is what we've been waiting for. The best fighting the best. So the venue is going to be somewhere in Las Vegas and it'll be later in the year, November or December. That's what we heard before tonight, with the fight now being official. Fury's response was, we are two men who will fight anybody. This man has been trying to make a big fight with the other chump. I think we all know who we're talking about. The biggest shithouse inside boxing. They called, I answered. I said, send me the contract. They sent the contract. I said yes. And now he gets his chance to fight the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. Fury and Wilder then got in each other's faces and Fury told him, I'm knocking you the f*** out. Bum. Fury promised he would then beat Wilder and defend the belt in Belfast. And Wilder, he obviously wasn't going to have any of that, saying that Fury would not be bringing the WBC belt back to Belfast. So full details are to be announced in the coming days. So some point later in the year in Las Vegas. So we'll have to see what comes of this. So you'd imagine there'll probably be some sort of press conferences in the next week or so, and probably both the United States and also the UK, most likely in London. So in terms of this fight being announced now, well, I think it's among one of the biggest fights that can be made. I do like the fight. I think there's a lot of intrigue with this fight. In terms of who's a favourite for this fight, well, at the moment, I'm leaning towards Deontay Wilder simply because he's been more active. He's been getting the job done. He's been in the ring, half a dozen times in the last few years, and he's continued to win and knock guys out. The only guy he never knocked out, he did knock him out in the rematch. And yeah, so I think he does stand a good chance to actually knock Tyson Fury out. If Fury had, say, another 6 months of comeback fights, I think I would feel differently. But in terms of Tyson Fury, we did actually see, I think, quite a bit tonight to give us some hope that actually he could stand a good shot in this fight against Wilder, that it is going to be competitive. So against Pianeta, those first few rounds, I'll just go up to, where are my notes here? Yeah, I mean, he rushed out at the opening bell. He looked pretty sharp in those first sort of 4 or 5 rounds. He was displaying some really good work. He was elusive. There was good footwork, good foot speed, good hand speed, and he looked pretty fluid, and he was in a decent rhythm. And I said ahead of this fight that I was expecting that Tyson Fury needed to be at least, show us something in regards of maybe be at 70-75% of his former best. And I think we got that tonight. I mean, there are a lot of people saying that he was going to knock Pianeta out in the opening couple of rounds, but as I said in my preview video, I would rather he have these rounds, and he went all 10 against Pianeta because he needs them. Because going from a Pianeta to a Wilder is a massive gulf. It's like the Grand Canyon. So he will be better for these rounds. And after the fight, he said it was a calculated boxing performance. He was able to slip and slide, use the jab, and he was happy with the performance. And he even said, no secret, I needed the rounds. And I did have more in the tank and could have gone longer. So I think there was enough that we saw there to keep us interested. Well, I'm still interested. I think he's got another few months to sort of work on, his conditioning a bit more. He came in at 258 for this fight. He looked, maybe a bit more fleshy on fight night. But, I think another 10 pounds or so, he will be back to his optimal weight. And there's a lot of people saying, well, he will be able to get that weight off easy. But there's going to be a balance now between, obviously continuing to come down and doing it the right way so he's not giving anything up. I mean, he doesn't want to lose all this weight and then find he's, it's going to take him a few months just to build his strength back up. I mean, there is a bit of a balance here. It's not an exact science, as some people would have you believe. His body looks different now than it did previously. And he's come down so much in such a short space of time, losing well over 100 pounds. But in terms of the work against Pianeta, overall, he did box pretty well. He got into a good rhythm. He did look to step it up in some of those, from about round 6 to round 8 onwards. And then obviously, I think round 9 and round 10, he thought, well, I'm just going to sort of see this one out, because he wasn't as aggressive, and it was just going through the motions a bit. And even when he was in his rhythm and looking pretty good, sort of slipping and sliding, he was moving well, there was a bit of a sort of monotony about it, and I'm not sure that everyone would have been impressed with what they were seeing. And after the fight, there were some boos. Not everyone was happy with what they saw, but in terms of what I thought I needed to see, looking ahead to a Wilder fight, I think, there's some optimism there that it's going to be competitive, because Tyson Fury showed tonight, the reflexes, they're still there. The movement, it was pretty good. His feet were working well. The hand speed was good. And he was having very few issues with Francesco Pianeta. But Deontay Wilder is a completely different kettle of fish. And Deontay Wilder is deceptively athletic. His defense is better than many give him credit for. And of course, if he lands a big, big right hand, people go to sleep. And Tyson Fury, the commentators were sort of mentioning this, is prone to having his hands down, and sometimes he does catch a few shots that maybe he shouldn't. But overall, Tyson Fury's in the same mold. He is pretty good defensively, even with those hands down. He's able to sort of just, weave out of the way at the last second. And Pianeta was largely just, catching air for a majority of the fight. But let's keep it in perspective. It was Francesco Pianeta that fought Fury tonight. It wasn't Deontay Wilder. And Pianeta obviously is a bit faded and jaded now. He was largely just plodding forward. He wasn't able to do much, and his feet were looking like they were in concrete at times. And Fury really had no trouble with that, because Pianeta wasn't giving him any. There wasn't much to write home about from Pianeta. He did manage to sort of corner him in a couple of times, and early on there was one occasion, I think it was the first round, where Fury was sort of just ducking and diving and weaving and slipping and sliding. Sort of shades of Ali, to sort of take that from Mick Hennessy. There was a little bit of that about it. And I think he was looking to show some of that elusiveness, evade Pianeta, make him look bad, because he has to show something. But in terms of, does this mean that he can automatically go and beat Deontay Wilder? I'm not so sure. But, David Haye did say after the fight, he was commentating, giving some sideline expert comments and such, that maybe Fury held a little bit back, because he did fight there in spurts where you sort of thought, wow, there's a few really good sort of things that he showed, just little bits and pieces that he put together. But then he would sort of get back into a rhythm and just not do too much. He was largely boxing within himself. He was never really troubled too much, but that's because the guy in front of him wasn't giving him much trouble. And I think there was maybe only one right hand that Pianeta landed of any consequence. The rest there was the odd body shot, the occasional jab, but largely he wasn't able to get any work away that was sort of troubling Fury. But Wilder, he's got an 83-inch reach. He is going to be a different kettle of fish for Tyson Fury. And I've got to say, after the fight ended and everyone was in the ring together, if you looked at Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, I thought Wilder looked taller than Fury. I don't know if Fury is 6'9" anymore. Maybe he was only ever 6'8", but he looks like he's potentially about the same height as Deontay Wilder now. If you remember that famous incident from, was it 2015 after the Spilker fight, when Fury got in the ring, he was clearly slightly taller than Deontay Wilder. But in this instance, and I was looking at where their eyes were, it looked like Fury was maybe half an inch shorter than Wilder. But potentially Deontay Wilder, maybe he had some platform shoes on or something. But yeah, I do think that potentially they're about the same height. And maybe Tyson Fury, with this sort of binge that he went on, putting on all this weight and sort of getting obese, maybe this has sort of shortened him up an inch or two. We'll have to see on that. But yeah, I was sort of looking at that and thinking, is he actually a legit 6'9" now? Or is he even 6'8"? Because Deontay Wilder, as we know, is a legit 6'7". And I thought that he did look a little bit taller than Fury. As Fury's prediction to bring the belt back to Belfast, well, he's got it all to do now. He's going to have to train hard now, sort of get a little bit more weight off, get into prime condition. And I think if we're talking about the end of the year, what have we got? 2 months of training camp. So it's a tight turnaround, and he's going to have to really have a good game plan for Deontay Wilder. And as I've said previously, I mean, who's going to be the guy coming forward in this? Because Deontay Wilder often likes to sort of sit back in the opening rounds. We've seen this against Gerald Washington, Luis Ortiz, they're recent examples. See what the other guy is. If he respects them, he's not going to just rush in there and try to take them out. Whereas someone like Stiverne, he showed no respect for and just sort of poleaxed him because he knew he could. But he will be wary of Tyson Fury and what Tyson Fury can do. And Tyson Fury, he was landing a few decent shots tonight, but yeah, he was on the move a bit too much, so he didn't really sit down on his punches all that much. There were a few occasions where he did look to actually, he visibly, I think, sort of, buzzed or sort of hurt Pianeta to an extent. There was one instance where he sort of hit him on the belt line, and Pianeta claimed it was low, but it wasn't. And I think, against someone like a Deontay Wilder, going to the body at times is going to, really pay dividends. So it'll be interesting to see what the fight plan is, and actually who is going to be the guy coming forward, because Fury naturally likes to, let people come to him and, use movement and be fluid, use that foot speed, use that hand speed, use his reach advantage, his natural advantages. But someone like Wilder, I could actually see him coming forward in this one a bit more just because someone will have to by default. But I do like this fight. I do think it's maybe a bit soon for Tyson Fury, but he says he wants that work and he's got it. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.